These are creepy TikToks that will make you rethink your whole reality.
Okay, so we all had a loved one or just some close friend pass away in our lives at least once. And I know all of us would do anything in our power to bring them back from the dead. But this South Korean TV show, in a way, is actually doing that. With the power of VR, they are capable of bringing back anybody from the dead. Just watch this video of this mother who's reuniting with her daughter 3 years after she died. These are everyday foods you didn't know could kill you, part 2. Up first are cashews. Cashews that you see in stores have been steamed to remove a chemical called urushiol, which is found in poison ivy. Consuming raw cashews can actually be extremely fatal, especially to people who have an allergy towards poison ivy. This is the weirdest form of torture ever. Okay, so this is tickle torture, and it was used to abuse, dominate, harass, humiliate, and interrogate an individual.
I'm back, it's your boy Fittie to the E, and today we're looking at this compilation together, so grab your water, your popcorn, whatever you want. Just remember that Christmas is coming up, so if you guys like my chain, check out the link down in the description. We have free shipping going out right now, and a lot of people have been buying. They really like the chains. We have some positive reviews, so make sure to check it out. Buy it for your friend, your family, and use FIT10 for a 10% discount.
You ever see a picture that just gives you like full body chills? This photo was captured in 2007, and it seems like kind of a harmless picture, right? There's nothing that's very out of the ordinary. It's taken outside of an apartment window by a woman named Maria Leontinka in Czech Republic. The man was just outside of the apartment. He was screaming, he was shouting, and this woman took the picture because she was going to report it to the property manager, having no idea that something very dark just occurred in that building. Inside that apartment building in 209 was a family of 4, all of which had been decapitated, and it's believed that man who was captured was responsible. Police are then able to connect the dots of another picture that was taken across town on the same exact day. It's believed to have been the same man, that he approached this group of teenagers and he was bragging about what he had just done, and they weren't sure if he was for real, if he was kidding, psychotic, so they took a picture of his face before he eventually ran. And this was the best shot they got. They even sketched the man, but they never found him, and his motive remained unknown.
That is a true story. It's actually a little bit crazy that people just go out their way to do stuff like that. That's what I'm telling you guys. You gotta be careful of who you're around.
A door to this Indian temple has never been opened, and people think that only darkness lays behind it. This is the Padmanabha Swami temple, and it was said that in the 1930s, treasure hunters came here and attempted to open the doors to the temple, and as soon as they pried them open, serpents emerged from one of the vaults unexpectedly. For many years, no one attempted to open this temple door due to the curse that said anyone who defiles this temple will die. But back in 2001, archaeologists decided to go explore this temple, and when they did, they discovered 6 different vaults with gold coins they dated back to over thousands of years ago. But in the end, archaeologists came to find out that there was actually 7 doors, but this door actually was too dangerous to unveil and was full of darkness. It was said to be guarded by 2 large serpents, and if it was opened, it could flood the whole temple. Now that's just rumors. Who's to say it couldn't be much worse than that?
Me personally, if someone's telling me, yo, there's serpents and snakes and evil curses in that tombstone room, I'm not going in there. What the fuck am I going in there for? If you would try to go in that tomb, put it down in the comments. Why she come in like that?
Legend has it, there's a dark backstory to that video I just played. We all remember that video, I Feel Fantastic, posted by Tara the Android on YouTube. It went viral back in the day, it's really creepy. Well, legend has it, there's an even more sinister backstory. Rumor has it that the clothes that this android is wearing are actually from a girl named Tara who was unalived. It's also said that the lyrics of this song, I Feel Fantastic, are actually Tara's last words, programmed into an android. The video then cuts to Tara sitting on the floor wearing a black outfit looking up at the ceiling. And then it cuts again to an upside down shot of Tara sitting in what looks like snow. And then it cuts to this, which is rumored to be a spot outside where the real Tara is buried. It is just a hoax, but it's still really creepy.
Yeah, I've heard about that story. This is like the second or third time I heard about that story. It is kind of creepy, but they did say it was a hoax.
These are everyday foods you didn't know could kill you, part 2. Up first are cashews. Cashews that you see in stores have been steamed to remove a chemical called urushiol, which is found in poison ivy. Consuming raw cashews can actually be extremely fatal, especially to people who have an allergy towards poison ivy. So if you ever come across cashews in the nature for some reason, just know don't touch them or eat them. Next up are cherries, and more specifically the pit of the cherry. The pit of a cherry contains compounds that our body turns into cyanide, which is an extremely deadly poison. And all you need to do is eat 1 or 2 cherry pits to die. So next time you eat a cherry, make sure to stay away from the pit.
You know, I've always known about that cherry pit, but I thought it was like at least 5+ cherry pits. I didn't know it was just 1 or 2 that can kill you. And that's crazy because I also eat cashews religiously. Like I'll eat a tub of cashew in like a day, I swear to God. I swear to God.
This is why you should never sleep on the 2nd floor. This story is called The Window Next Door by Junji Ito, and I literally could not sleep after reading it. The main character Hiroshi and his parents move into a new house. And this house has 2 floors, but it only has 1 room on the 2nd floor with a window facing the neighbor's house. And Hiroshi decided to live in that room on the 2nd floor, which turned out to be a terrible mistake. Because one night as he's about to fall asleep, he hears a voice coming from his neighbor's window. And this voice is calling out to him saying, "Dear boy, dear boy." Then this face appears in the window and stares directly at him. This woman continues to say, "Dear boy, why not come over and play? I'll be waiting." At this point, Hiroshi is terrified, but he sits back down on his bed and tries to ignore it. But the next night, things got so much worse. The same voice came from his neighbor's window again. Except this time, when the woman appeared by the window, she took out a long pole and tried to climb into Hiroshi's room. Hiroshi pushed the pole away and ran downstairs screaming in fear. But his parents didn't believe him and said that he must have been dreaming. So being forced to keep sleeping in that room, Hiroshi realized every night since then, the voice seemed to be moving closer and closer to him. Until one day he looked outside and realized the window was growing out of the neighbor's wall and coming towards him.
That's why I like all Japanese story and story forms. Like for example, anime. I talk a lot about anime. I like anime. I swear to God, they always have some really unique and creative stories with plot with a lot of depth to it.
Disturbing things caught inside taxis. In this video, a taxi cab is driving at night. The camera has a full view of the empty backseat. Shadows pass through the car as the car passes under street lamps. However, one shadow forms and stays. It looks exactly like a person in shadow form. It lingers for a few seconds in the back of the car and then disappears. The driver didn't seem to notice.
I really would just say that's just like a camera illusion, but still, that's kind of creepy. Imagine that outline was a little bit too perfect also.
Scary things caught on camera. On May 14, 2013, YouTuber Chris Wells uploaded a very disturbing video. In this video, his kitchen is being completely demolished by what appears to be paranormal activity. Though things calm down for a moment, the disaster resumes, but this time even closer to the camera. If you look closely, the video seems extremely realistic. You can't see any strings or wires attached to the objects. To this day, Chris Wells still has no clue what happened and once even tried to contact the poltergeist itself. Take a look. Follow for more videos and comment whether you think this is real or not.
All right, I have 2 things to say. One is, do you guys think that was real? And 2, every single time I see a ghost clip where a ghost is just in someone's house, it's always destroying their objects. Like, why do ghosts feel the need to come into my living space and destroy everything I have? He's not doing nothing to me. He's not physically hurting me. He's just destroying my house. Like, why? Why you should always check your shoes? Oh no! That is some Florida. Snake in your shoe is literally insane. Could you imagine that?
This next story
Terrifying
makes me
camping
never want to
experience.
camp again. In the fall time, 3 friends were camping in southern Utah. When it began getting dark, they made a fire, sat around it, and had dinner. They suddenly heard a weird chirping noise, almost like a kookaburra, but slowed way down. It didn't sound like any normal animal. Something then began rustling and moving around in the trees, but they couldn't see what it was. After a while, it stopped and they went to bed. Everything was fine until one of them was woken up in the middle of the night. She saw what looked like 2 hands pressed up against the side of her tent. She also heard a wet breathing sound, almost like somebody was wheezing. Terrified and unable to speak, she quickly woke her sister up. They stayed as quiet as possible until the handprints faded away. They didn't sleep at all, and once the sun rose, they quickly packed up their stuff to leave. Curious, they looked where they had seen the handprints, and what they found was a trail of long, skinny footprints leading up to their campsite, but not away. Not wanting to stick around and find out what it was, they quickly left. To this day, the girls are convinced that it was a skinwalker.
I think there might just be some folklore or people's just imaginations. If you think skinwalkers are real, put it down in the comments. I'm pretty sure I said that before, but still. Apparently Michael Jackson been hiding his real voice from all of us this whole time. So it turns out his voice isn't like high-pitched Cardi baby voice. His voice is actually mad deep. And in this video you can kind of hear it, but like he switches it instantly.
Can you hear me?
And in these videos I'm about to show you, his voice is actually deep. Like what the
Let's confess, it feels good to be thought of as a person, not as a personality. And all my fans around the world, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly humbled by this award.
I'm not gonna lie to you, his voice did sound deep towards the end there, right there. He might be the new Pop Smoke for real. And for those who are confused, yes, that was me. Actually got close to 1 million views on that. I got 888,000 views on that TikTok. Like I think a year or 2 ago, I was posting videos like that like a year or 2 ago. You can check out my account right here.
Okay.
I mean, that's true. Like, considering the fact that it's December right now, all you're just gonna hear is, I don't want. Bro, I swear to God, every December, they spam Mariah Carey. She's good, but chill.
Don't believe what this woman did.
What'd she do?
In 1972, a woman appeared in a Los Angeles hospital wearing nothing but a white dress covered in red liquid. But this wasn't an ordinary woman. Her face almost looked like a mannequin. She did not have any eyebrows, and her face was smeared in makeup. It even gets creepier, because the woman had a kitten in her mouth. She threw it on the floor and collapsed. She was then rushed into a hospital room. She was completely calm, expressionless, and motionless. However, when it was time to sedate her, she lashed out, and 2 nurses had to hold her down. The doctor asked her, "What are you?" She then turned to the doctor and smiled, revealing that she did not have normal human teeth. She had razor-sharp teeth. She signaled him down to her as if to whisper in his ear. She then attacked him, and while he lay on the floor suffering, she leaned over top of him and said, "I am God." She has never been seen since then.
I just really hope when she like waved him down to come to her ears, he did not actually go to her ears. But nah, I don't know why she playing God like her. She's really not God.
Legend of the boyfriend.
A girl and her boyfriend were driving at night down an isolated country road. As they drove, the night seemed to get darker and darker. Eventually, they lost their way and found themselves driving through a densely wooded area that neither of them recognized. The girlfriend panicked as it was gone midnight. The boyfriend got out of the car and took a look around. They were in a secluded and wooded area. All he could see were trees. There seemed to be no houses for miles around. They were completely alone. The girlfriend was spooked and kept asking the boy to do something. He told her he would have to walk back to the main highway and get help. The boyfriend could see that his fiancée was scared, so he told her not to worry. He would return as fast as he could. But the girl could see the concern in his face. Kissing her goodbye, he told her to roll up the windows and lock the doors. Then he set out walking down the road. The girl watched as her boyfriend got further and further away and finally disappeared into the darkness. Hours passed, and the girl sat shivering in the car, fearful of every shadow she saw and every noise she heard. She began to feel like her boyfriend was never coming back. Suddenly, she heard a loud tapping noise on the roof of the car.
Tap, tap, tap.
She began to panic but was too terrified to get out and investigate. She kept trying to peer out the windows, but it was too dark to see anything.
Tap, tap, tap.
She was forced to remain huddled in the car all night long, listening to the weird tapping sound. Eventually, She managed to fall asleep. When she woke up and looked at her watch, it was 9 a.m. but when she tried to look out of the car windows, everything was completely black. She couldn't understand what was going on. Suddenly, she heard a car pull up nearby and it honked its horn 3 times. Then she heard a voice shouting,
"This is the police. Is there anyone in the car?"
The girlfriend sighed with relief.
"Just me. My boyfriend left me here alone and never came back."
"Okay. Stay calm," said the policeman. "Listen to me very carefully. Open the door, get out of the car, and walk towards me. Whatever you do, don't look behind you." The girl obeyed the policeman's orders. Even though her hands were shaking and her mind was racing, she opened the car door and stepped out. "Now walk towards me," said the policeman, "and don't look behind you." But it was too late. The girl couldn't help herself. She turned around and began screaming in horror.
Her boyfriend's dead body was hanging upside down from a tree branch over the car. His head had been chopped off and blood was dripping down from his neck, completely covering the car windows.
That was a crazy story. I was actually thinking about it. I was like, what if those taps are like blood drops? And it was. I knew it, bro.
Next video comes from a series of Snapchat stories uploaded by a woman named Mackenzie Smalley. She can be seen walking outside in the middle of the day in Old Town Scottsdale, probably just trying to enjoy her afternoon and take in the fresh air. However, that's made impossible because just behind her, a creepy man in a pickup truck is following her, turning down every corner she is. At one point in the video, she kindly tells the man, "I need you to stop following me," but it's obvious that he won't obey your wishes.
"I need you to stop following me right now. I don't know you. I don't know you. Bye!"
She then says that at one point, she even needed to break into a full-on sprint in order to get away from the eerie being. Luckily, the woman was able to escape from the man, but she's expressed her frustration that people who saw the incident unfold didn't do anything to help her.
And the most frustrating part about all of that was I was looking at all the other cars that were driving by, like looking, like saying, like, help, like this, like giving them like the eye, and I didn't do anything.
Honestly, being stalked is such a weird feeling. I could not imagine that. Mostly as a woman that's just trying to mind her business. I don't know what that guy's agenda was, but hopefully she's safe.
This is one of the worst experiments ever conducted in the United States on people. It's the Tuskegee experiment. In 1932, 600 black men were recruited for a study in Alabama by being promised free medical care. 399 of these men were suffering from syphilis, a common STI, and the study promised medical care for the rest of their lives. But that's not what happened. Secretly, the study was designed to track the full progression of the infection, meaning that the subjects were not given real medicine. Instead, they were given aspirin and mineral substances. The progression of syphilis is terrible, and many men in the study went blind and insane. Meanwhile, researchers were watching this happen and did not intervene. Probably the worst part of this entire study was that in 1943, while the study was going on, penicillin became the most common cure of syphilis, but because it would have interrupted the study, none of the men were given it. The study was shut down in 1972, but at that point, many men had already lost their lives. President Bill Clinton formally apologized for the study in 1997, but for many, it was too little too late.
Like what can those people do with an apology, bro? Like, let's get real.
Were the pyramids built? Many Egyptologists believe that the enormous pyramids were merely tombs where the pharaohs were buried. However, there is a theory that the pyramids actually were created for a different purpose. Many of us know that the pyramids had secret shafts built into the construction, but no one knew what they were for. It was not until Christopher Dunn made a scaled-down model of the Great Pyramids and started pouring water into it. As a result, the pyramid resonated at a frequency capable of emitting electrons. A man who was really fascinated and found a lot of inspiration from the pyramids was Nikola Tesla. When he developed the Tesla Tower, a device capable of harnessing energy through the atmosphere. Is it possible that a more advanced civilization had any type of advanced technology in the pyramids?
But you gotta really think, you know how long it really takes us to make something that big with that heavy material? And they made multiple of it. I couldn't tell you, bro. I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
You've heard of Charles Manson, but I bet you haven't heard of Tony Costa. In 1968, young women were disappearing from Cape Cod, and Tony Costa seemed to be at the center of it. See, in his daily life, Tony Costa was a charming man. But Tony had another side of himself that he referred to as Corey. And Corey had a thirst for blood. He would lure his victims into this graveyard where he would promise them drugs, but instead would take their lives and dismember them. And since it was the 1960s and there were so many transient teens coming in and out of Cape Cod, it took police officers months to take any of these disappearances seriously. We know about his victims Patricia Walsh, Marian Wysocki, Susan Perry, and Sydney Monson, but there's potentially 4 others. And you can read all about Tony Costa in Helltown, Casey Sherman's new book. It's a great end of summer read, really putting you at the heart of coastal New England during the hippie movement, including all the love, drugs, and murder that took place.
This TV show uses VR to bring people back from the dead. Okay, so we all had a loved one or just some close friend pass away in our lives at least once. And I know all of us would do anything in our power to bring them back from the dead. But this South Korean TV show, in a way, is actually doing that. With the power of VR, they are capable of bringing back anybody from the dead. Just watch this video of this mother who's reuniting with her daughter 3 years after she died.
엄마 어디 있었어? 엄마 내 생각했어? 맨날 해. 엄마 많이 보고 싶었어. 엄마도 나 보고 싶었어. 우리 나연이.
Not gonna lie, that was one of the saddest clips I've ever seen in my existence. Mom couldn't touch, yo, is that, would you guys really feel satisfied with having that VR technology? I don't think I would be satisfied.
This woman may have saved your life. Marie Van Britton Brown, a nurse from Queens, worked the night shift. This left her frequently walking home alone in the dark, and she didn't always feel safe. It was the 1960s and crime was on the rise. And it wasn't just the commute home that worried her. Even when she got home, she was worried that someone would break in. Marie's husband worked odd hours as an electrician, and she knew a call to police may mean waiting for them to show up, so Marie decided to take matters into her own hands. She enlisted the help of her husband and his electrical expertise, and Marie invented and developed a home security system that used a motorized camera, remote door unlocking, an intercom, and a button that would alert 911 if an assailant broke in. Marie's homemade system made it possible to see who was at your front door from your bedroom for the very first time in history. Marie's invention was patented, and her ideas can be seen in security systems all around the world. Think about how many lives Marie has saved with her invention. Go Marie! What are your thoughts?
That's an amazing invention by Marie. I hope she got paid the bag for that, and she probably didn't, because, you know, a lot of people like to steal ideas and then make the bag from it. But hopefully she, you know, she made money. At least she's getting recognized for that. That's really smart. Good for her.
This is the weirdest form of torture ever. Okay, so this is tickle torture. And it was used to abuse, dominate, harass, humiliate, and interrogate an individual. During tickle torture, the victim being tickled may laugh, whether or not they find the experience pleasant. Tickle torture may be a consensual activity, or it could be forced. And forced tickle torture can cause real physical and mental distress in the victim, which is why it's been used as an interrogation method or to simply show dominance over another person. But this is where tickle torture gets extremely weird. Europeans use goats to carry out this form of torture and dip the victim's feet in salt water, which the goat then licked endlessly. The victim's feet would then be dipped in salt water over and over again, and the process would then be repeated. This is extremely weird and is definitely the weirdest torture method I ever heard of, because why in the world would they use goats?
I like that. Towards the end, he was like, because why in the hell would they use goats? Literally, like, why goats? You could use anything, but goats? America. And that wasn't even America, I'm bugging. But anyways, if you guys like the video, please like the video. Remember to try to get a chain for your fam or your friends for Christmas. Like, Christmas is coming up, why not give someone a chain? And plus, they're not too expensive. And if you use Fit10 for a 10% discount, you're getting money off, what? And we have free shipping, come on now. So if you guys like the chain, please check the chains out.